Hello, everybody. My name is Natalia Perici, and I will be talking to you today about customer retention. Don't mess with Texas. We've all heard this, right? But do you know how this saying came to be? In the early 1980s, Texas was faced with a significant littering problem. They were spending $20 million annually to clean highways, roadsides, and public spaces marred by trash. The Texas Department of Transportation recognized the need for an engaging and motivating campaign to discourage littering. The result was "Don't mess with Texas." This phrase captured the spirits of the audience while also delivering a clear message against littering, and it was an instant success. Over time, "Don't mess with Texas" has become ingrained in the Texan identity and has continued to inspire anti-littering efforts across the state. While a lot can be said about the success of this campaign, we bring this up to highlight three key behavioral elements. 1. Emotional appeal. This simple phrase tied in Texas pride and created a sense of ownership and responsibility for the audience. Number 2 is cognitive dissonance. It portrayed littering as incongruent with Texas identity, thus encouraging people to change their behavior to align with self-perception. And 3, social herding. It leveraged social norms and peer pressure to discourage the negative behavior. The campaign's success is an example of how well-crafted messages combined with the understanding of the audience can have a profound impact on changing behaviors for the better. We believe that the same principles can be leveraged to help nurture positive financial behaviors. While you're not encouraging your customers to stop littering, you are trying to get them to take positive action. The Texas Department of Transportation understood their audience and how to motivate them to take the desired action, in this case, to stop littering. Understanding your customers' unique motivations is critical to effective engagement, and that's one of the reasons why Symend does an annual consumer survey that seeks to uncover the drivers of consumer behavior. For this year, our survey focus was on past due bill payer. As we know, delinquency was at an all-time low during COVID, but now we're starting to see significant increases in churn and delinquency across the board. That's why we decided to focus our research on customers who are behind on their bills, and as they now represent our more significant proportion of the customers. We surveyed 2,500 late bill payers to learn about their mindsets and what things service providers can do differently to support them and build powerful customer relationships through effective engagement. Through this presentation, we'll share our findings on the current customer mindset, the impact of different tactics used by service providers to accelerate bill payments, and our recommendations on how best support your struggling customers. But before I go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Natalia. I am a behavioral scientist at Symend, and as such, I design behavior-based strategies for our clients. Today's customers have more demands for their time, energy, and money than ever before. This affects how they prioritize and spend that money between their needs and wants, but it's constantly shifting. Compared to our surveys last year, we see a 16% increase in bill payers expressing that their financial priorities are shifting often. These shifting financial priorities contribute to decision fatigue and scarcity mindset, where consumers may be operating from a limited mental bandwidth as they focus on one perceived threat at a time. Now, remember when we mentioned how individuals have different motivators for decision making, such as goals or social norms? That's because as consumer behavior and spending changes in response to shifting priorities, having a keen understanding of customer preferences, pain points, and motivations will help you differentiate your experience from your competitors and other demands for their wallet share. We'll explore this in more detail later. But for now, let's dive into what's causing this constant shift in priorities. To illustrate our example for changing priorities, I'm going to ask you to think if this year you plan to travel less than you did last year, if you're traveling about the same as you did in 2022, or if you're traveling more this year than you did in 2022. If you answered that you will be traveling more than you did last year, you're among 49% of Americans who plan to travel more in 2023 than they did in 2022. Despite the fact that we're in a worse economic state now than last year, thanks to inflation, high interest rate, and other global factors, consumers are still looking to make up for lost time. One of the contributing factors to this current customer mindset is what we call competitive spending. We've been faced with the reality that at any time, opportunities to travel, see friends and family, experience new things can all be taken away with almost no notice. This mindset is causing consumers to shift priorities for what they feel is more important today. Given this, it's no surprise that many consumers are feeling the pinch on their wallets. It's a reality that is likely to get worse in the foreseeable future. Now that we understand what factors are leading to customers to fall behind on their bills, it's important to understand how they prioritize payments when they have fallen behind. Among service respondents, 69% will prioritize payment of a bill that offers flexible payment options. This is important to note, and we'll dig into the types of supports that telco providers can offer later. But knowing that struggling customers are more likely to prioritize payments of a bill with flexible options is critical when deciding how to support those going through these times. Also, it's worth noting that 65% of bill payers prioritize bills when there is a risk of losing access to services, while 55% will proceed with payments in favor of avoiding late fees. Let's explore now the consumer experience as it relates to interacting with service providers. Understanding the consumer mindset is paramount for businesses seeking sustainable success. This will allow you to adapt your strategies accordingly. One key finding from our survey was that 71% of bill payers falling behind are feeling overwhelmed and anxious when they received messages and notifications from service providers. This represents 47% increase from over 2022. Furthermore, 70% of bill payers say that being treated poorly by their provider negatively affects their mental health. As a service provider, you play a significant role in how your consumers feel and the barriers that they put up when engaging with you. There are real opportunities for service providers to positively affect and strengthen the customer relationships during difficult times for the consumer. For example, 82% say that if they're behind on bills, they're more likely to respond to positive, supportive communications than to threats to cut them off. And as we know, customers are more likely to make positive decisions when they feel that they're supported by a nurturing environment. While this may seem obvious, it's important to note that genuine empathy is the key here. When consumers are behind, the barriers to engagement increase and the expectation that they have on their service providers grow. In the following section, we will dig into the practical ways that consumers are looking for support when they are behind on bills. But I'd like you to put a pin on the notion that the way in which you treat your customer during periods of financial uncertainty can have a lasting impact. So now the question is, what type of support are your customers looking for? We understand that each customer is up against a unique set of challenges when they fall behind or struggle with bill payments. While that may seem personal and too complex to address at a scale, the reality is that customers are holding service providers accountable for delivering the support and information they need in a way that is personalized to them. And if personalized support and empathy aren't a part of the package, customers are ready to turn to a different service provider to meet their needs. When it comes to personalized service, bill payers are looking for specific support. Primarily, they're looking for the flexibility to choose how to manage their outstanding balance. Bill payers are looking for a measure of control, particularly when times are tough and feelings of instability are at play. That's why one of the top things that you can do for your customers who have fallen behind on their bills is to provide information on flexible payment options available. 59% of bill payers indicated this was a top thing needed from their provider to help them more easily manage payments. It's also worth noting that only 22% of survey respondents indicated that deadlines or a sense of urgency helps them manage their bill payments. What customers are really looking for is helpful support during a stressful and difficult time. And we see that as a great opportunity as a service provider to strengthen customer relationships. That's why over half of bill payers want to receive solutions that anticipate their specific needs, which requires a deep level of hyper-personalization. The role of personalization here cannot be overstated. Understanding what options to provide, at what times, and then performing this at scale helps service providers unlock successful customer relationships now and well into the future. Before we wrap up, we wanted to take another look at this from a more macro level. It's easy to get wrapped up in our individual company challenges, but taking a look at this from another angle can provide some helpful perspective. Experian reported that total consumer debt balances increased to $16.38 trillion in 2022, up from $15.31 trillion in 2021. The 7% increase was larger than the 5.4% increase from September 2020 through September 2021. Given this current economic and social climate, it's not too surprising that more and more consumers are having trouble making their payments on time. But what's really eye-opening is just how big this issue has become and the fact that it might not let up anytime soon. It's like we're riding a roller coaster, but the downward trend seems to be sticking around for longer than anticipated. As telco service providers, we need to understand the challenges our consumers are facing and come up with practical solutions to navigate through these complexities. And the sooner, the better. I know we just shared a lot of information. So just to finish off, let's recap the top trends and the key takeaways from our 2023 consumer survey. 1. The current customer mindset has shifted significantly from 2022. There has been a 48% increase in consumers feeling anxious and overwhelmed when receiving messages from their service provider. And 70% say that being treated poorly by their service provider negatively affects their mental health. 2. The way service providers respond and interact with consumers behind on their bill matters. If they feel negatively treated, consumers are very likely to avoid direct contact, switch providers, and complain about that provider online. 3. Lastly, we saw that the number one thing that consumers that are behind on their bills value is flexible payment options. In fact, offering flexible payment options will make it more likely that you'll receive payments from those customers. We want to highlight that while many businesses have a comprehensive strategy for acquiring new customers, studies suggest that acquiring a new customer can cost 5 to 7 times more than retaining one. The role you play and how you support your customers when they fall behind can be the key difference between retaining or losing them. Here we've covered the types of support that your struggling customers value and the importance of hyper-personalizing your offers and outreaches. Focusing on supporting your customers, particularly now, can have a lasting positive impact for both your customers and your business. As we approach the end of this year and begin planning for 2024, focusing on providing effective and personalized customer support is a strategy well worth exploring and investing in. Thank you.